Hi, thank you for watching. Tonight I wanted to talk to you about um, healing yourself. So, um, in the last few weeks, I've noticed some emotions and some thoughts showing up out of the blue. When so what I've come to understand is that's not a shock. When you've been through trauma, emotional, really any kind of trauma, whether it was emotional, verbal, physical, our brains process all pain the same way. It doesn't matter whether it was verbal abuse or physical abuse or, you know, the brain processes it the same way. It's pain, it's all pain. So now, depending on what you've been through, um, how much trauma, how much it traumatized you. It's going to vary from person to person, and it's going to take as long as it takes to heal. There's no, it's kind of living in a fast food world has kind of screwed us up because we've become really impatient. We think everything should be fast food timing, you know? Hey, I pulled up. I said I want to do some self healing, so come on, let's get it done. It doesn't have to take a long time, but healing happens in layers. So when I first left my toxic marriage, that first year, I was like, I just want to heal and I want to get on with my life and I want to live a really good, great life. I want to have fun and I want to, I just want to be free and have a life filled with love and joy and peace. And I just want to, yeah, I just wanted to get away from the pain. Is what I wanted to do as quickly as possible because I was very hurt. Because that's what emotional abuse is. It's very painful. So, anyway, that relationship was 22 years long. And then there are so anyway, the point being, um, healing is going to take as long as it takes. And the thing I want to say to you is be brave. And just take one step at a time, one day at a time. It's not going to all happen at once. And that's a good thing because sometimes the healing process, like the healing process we go through at certain times is really painful and it's really emotional and it just is draining. Like it's shocking sometimes how physically draining it can be. Like, you go through this healing process one day and like you feel so good afterwards. You're like, oh, what a relief. And wow, that was really intense. It kind of freaked me out. But at the same time, oh, I feel so much better. I wish I would have done that sooner or whatever. And then for like the next couple days, you're just like, whoa, I feel really wiped out and I need to sleep more. And yeah, because the work you did there to heal yourself was for real. It wasn't like, I don't know. It's just kind of funny sometimes how we um you think, oh, it's an emotional thing, so it's not going to affect these other, but we are not just one thing. And you know just like what you put into your vehicle or how you treat your vehicle, the maintenance you do on your vehicle affects the whole vehicle, really. So anyway, all of that to say, I've noticed some things showing up. And at first I was like, oh crap. And I was like, it's back. Because I did some healing work last summer to overcome and break through a really heavy bitterness that was just like hanging on my heart. And it was pretty nasty. It was pretty heavy stuff. And I kept dancing around it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to heal it. I'm going to And there came a point when I just, I got to it. I did the work that I needed to do. All the things I did before that, even though I kind of laugh at myself and I'm like, yeah, you danced around it for a long time. I was I was working up to it. And sometimes you have to. You have to go through whatever process you have to go through. And that's why we shouldn't compare ourselves to other people. Just listen and learn and take from what others say what feels right. Like, you see something or you hear them say something and you're like, ooh, I could use that. Right. Use it your way. Do your thing your way. Your healing is going to be different. But anyway, I wanted to share with you what I did tonight and the weirdness that it is, because it just is weird, but it works for me. So, like I said, thoughts were showing up out to me. It's felt like out of nowhere, because I've felt really good ever since I broke through the bitterness last summer. I felt free and I felt lighthearted, and there were just a lot of changes I noticed. I was able to do things I wasn't able to do before, which I don't want to get into right now, but so yeah, I felt really good as far as healing goes until a few weeks ago. And I was reading something and it triggered a thought. And that thought was it was like a hole was poked in the dam or something. And it's not, so things started leaking out. The dam didn't break. And maybe that's really a wrong thing, because I don't feel like there's a whole bunch of stuff piled up just waiting to come out. But at the same time, I know that, of course, there will be more healing to do. I was married for 22 plus years, So anyway, yeah, this thought happened, and then the feeling, and I was just like, what? I was like, oh no, it's back, the bitterness. And then I sat for a minute and I was like, do I feel bitterness? No. Do I feel as emotional now as I did last summer around this subject matter? No. So I was like, okay, well, that's cool. So I told myself, I will get back with you about this, because I know you're trying to tell me something. Well, so what has happened is, in the days after that, I've had dreams about this subject. I have had moments where thoughts or memories came into my mind, and then suddenly I'm saying out loud what I think or feel about it. That's a real sign to me, like, oh, hello, your system is telling you need to pay attention here. Something's going on. So tonight, earlier in this week, I was like, oh yeah, I still haven't done that. So I need to. So I opened up my planner and I made a date with myself, so that I would actually, do this thing. And I sat down with my journal and I asked, I asked my truth teller, I asked God, the universe, angels, whoever's available to help me here. I would like some help. I kind of tripped over that because I'm like, well, I don't want to get into all that, my spiritual beliefs, but I'm a spiritual person. I was raised in Christianity. I'm not a Christian, but I believe in God, just not exactly all of those former beliefs. My beliefs have morphed, and they're mine. The point is, I asked for help and I got it, like you do. And I also asked myself, that part of myself that was bringing these things up. I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm ready to listen to what you have to say. So I sat down with my journal and I just started writing whatever came to me. Like at first I started the conversation like, okay, this thought and memory and emotion showed up, and what about that? So now when I do that, I will ask questions that come to me, but then when I'm listening and waiting for that other aspect of myself, which that other aspect is my wounded self. It's my wounded self and my ego self, because my ego self will chime in defense of my wounded self and be like, I'm ready to knock you out, you know. So some of the thoughts that came up were, I don't want to give this person credit because I hate them. Wow. Okay. So, I don't want, I know it's okay to be angry with people, and it's okay to hate somebody because they hurt you or whatever. What I don't want is to feed that vibe because of the way it feels. That's it. The way it feels. Hating feels heavy and nasty. But I do sometimes feel hateful. And so taking this time tonight, I wanted to listen to myself. And something that has not always been easy for me is to just come right out and be honest. And a lot of it is to do with my upbringing because, you know, as a Christian, you're not supposed to hate. You got to love and forgive. And, you know, so I was always trying to like toe the line, you know, toe the line, and you got to do it this way, and you got to be. So this process I went through tonight is kind of all inclusive. Like, we're just going to get it all out there. And yes, we're going to, there's a process here. You know, you can't heal if you won't let yourself feel. You have to be honest and say what it is, call it what it is, so that you're able to feel it and then deal with it. So that's what I did tonight. Used my journal. I asked myself questions. So here's a thing that I do. So I will write certain things with I'm right-handed, so I write it right-handed. And then when I am ready to listen for whatever shows up, I will put my pen in my left hand and let the answer come. Like whatever comes to me, I write it with my left hand. Or I will still use my right hand, but I will switch to all capital letters. So I do that sometimes. I did that tonight. The answers that came, there was hurt. What was interesting to me tonight was that I listened to that wounded part of myself without getting all worked up and upset. So that was really different. It wasn't like it was this summer. There was a lot of crying. This was just a more mild thing. And I think I'm like, oh, this is why you want to deal with things when you're triggered. Because it's smaller and more manageable. It doesn't feel like this gigambus blob of pain. It's just this little thing that you're dealing with. I would much rather, like what I experienced tonight was, much. So, okay, so I wrote the thing. I asked myself questions. The answers came to me, revealing, you know, what was hurting, what's hurting at this point. And, the hate and the anger about those things. And then at one point I had asked questions and I didn't feel like there was anything coming to me. So I was listening, and when I do this, I like make myself comfortable. I put on ambient sound. So I chose the sound of a creek and wind and leaves blowing and whatever, fire crackling in the background. So that was my ambient sound. And I sat where I was comfortable and made sure I was comfortable and relaxed, like physically, I'm okay in this space, you know. And then I got my journal and started writing, asking questions. And then there was when I began with the journal, first I began with a prayer, just saying, please help me. Please help me heal, do the healing work I need to do right now. And then I started writing just what came to me. And I just felt at peace, and I didn't feel like anything was showing up. And then this melody came to me. And so I started humming it. And then I felt like I was supposed to get up and just kind of sway along to the sound that I was humming. So I did that. And then words started coming to me. And these are the words that came to me. It's okay. I'm listening to you. I will not judge you. You are safe to speak your truth. I will not judge you. And then I just kind of put my arms around myself and just kind of swayed as I just sang those words over. There was another part to that song, but when I sat down to write it, I didn't remember that, and I didn't want that to slow me down in my process, so I just moved on. And so when I felt, and here's what I do, I just go by what I feel drawn to do next. Okay, so next I felt like I'd hummed and sung the song enough. It was enough. It just felt like, yeah, that's good. And then when I sat down and I wrote those words down to the song, and then after I wrote those words down, this is what showed up. They should pay for what they did. Okay, that's a legit feel. And then other things started pouring out. So I sat and listened to to my wounded self. And I was like, that's understandable, So I was like, okay, do you want to do some tear it up therapy or some punch them out kind of therapy? And so tear it up therapy is when you write things down. You might draw a picture of the individual, whatever you're dealing with, your subject matter. You might draw, and it's just a stick figure. It doesn't matter. This isn't art you're going to hang on your wall. This is about you getting it out of your system. So you could draw a stick figure, and you can just write words that come to your mind when you think of them, how you feel and why, and just do it as it comes. It doesn't need to be pretty. This isn't, like I said, this is not artwork you're sticking on your fridge or framing. That's not what this is about. So then once you feel like you've gotten it all off your chest and onto the paper, then you start tearing it up, and you say what you have to say as you're tearing it up. And that's a way of getting out the emotion that you feel. The punch it out kind of thing is using a pillow or, whatever. Using a pillow, though, not a person. And just taking out, punch it, kick it, stomp on it, do what you got to do. So what I felt like doing was kicking a pillow around. And when I got up to do it, I also felt like I needed to put that person's name on a piece of paper and put it on the pillow, like to signify this is what's happening. This pillow is standing in for that person. I'm going to take it out on the pillow. So, and this might seem childish, but it's just therapeutic. This isn't where you stay. It's part of the process. So, whatever, it works for me. So I got a piece of paper, just scrap paper. This kind of thing, this is not for prettiness or keeps. It's not for keeps. It's just the process. So got the piece of paper, wrote the person's name on it. And then as I wrote their name, I found there were other things I wanted to write on there. So I did, and I verbalized it, said it out loud as I'm writing these things about this person. And then I filled up this, I had just a little scrap piece of paper. And then I was like, oh, that's not enough. So I got a full sheet of paper, what, 8.5 by 11. And I filled that up with all the things. And then I put those papers on the pillow on the floor and I stomped on it. And then I tossed the pillow out of the way because I just felt like, no, I want to stomp on this. I want to tear these papers up with my feet, just rip them to shreds. And I did that. And then I picked all those papers up and I went over to a mirror, and there's a shelf in front of this mirror I have. So I'm looking at myself and I've got these pieces of paper, and I remind myself that this stuff is this person's stuff. All these things that they did, all the things that they are, that's their problem. It's not my problem. I'm free. I'm free. I don't have to fix it. It's not my job to fix it. It's not my job to clean up after them. So I just go through this process of reminding myself I'm free. What happened in the past is past. I don't want to stay there. I don't want to feel bad about it. I already felt bad about it back then. That was bad enough. And as I'm looking at myself and talking, to myself, I started to cry a little bit because I'm like, yeah, I do remember what that was like. It was wrong. What they did was wrong. It was not acceptable. No, not at all. But I don't live there anymore. I don't want to live there anymore. I don't want to drag the things that are on these pieces of paper. I don't want to drag that crap around with me, that stink, that stench of what it was and how they were. No, I don't deserve that. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of good things. And I'm not doing that again. I guarantee. So, as I was saying these things, I'm tearing up the paper into tiny pieces. This is their problem, not mine. Throwing it into the trash can right next to me. Not my problem. I'm letting it go. I am letting it go. So then I felt like, okay, I'm done. I feel so much better now. And then I came back over to my chair and I felt like, nope, the next step is I need to give them credit. That was what started this whole thing. Was I read something about giving credit where it's due, even to those who have hurt us. What did we learn from that? Did you learn? And you're better for it now for the lesson you learned? Well, got to give credit where credit's due. That taught you something. So even when you got shit on by whatever happened, you have the kind of magic to turn it into something good if you learn and do better for yourself, you see. So try to knock me down. You know what I'm saying? Just try, because I get back up again. I learn my lessons. And I try to honor and go with the magic that is in me so that I can take the pile of shit I was handed and say, hey, thanks. I need that for my garden. Watch me grow bigger tomatoes. Watch me grow more beautiful roses than I've ever grown before. Watch me rise after I've been knocked down time and time again. I think we're meant to heal and grow more and more fearless. We can't do that if we won't take the time to pay attention and be present in our own lives. So I'm sharing all this with you not as a person who's got a handle on it no, I'm practicing these things, okay? I'm living and I'm learning and I'm screwing up and I'm making this video and I'm sharing things that I write or whatever because I hope to encourage and inspire you to love yourself the way you have always wanted to be loved and accepted. Because you deserve that right now. You don't need to lose weight and you don't need to this and you don't need to that. You're okay. You're a perfectly okay human being, ready right this moment to be loved and accepted just as you are. So do it. Do the things. Learn how to do the things. And at first it's difficult and it feels weird because you're just not used to it. It's just like any other new thing you start. When you start loving yourself, you're like, am I being too easy on myself? Is this, but the more you walk this way, the freer you feel, the more joy you have, the more peace you have in your life. And there is your proof. If it brings you peace and sets you free and brings you joy, if you feel like, oh, I am lovable, hello, that's a big win, high fives, then the work you're doing is good and you're right on target. So the last little thing that I did, I got another piece of paper because I was inspired to. Now, your healing process, this was a very different healing process for me this time than what I went through in the summer. But it was similar in that I took time to sit down, to pray first for help, to ask questions, to get things moving, and then I just did what I felt I was supposed to do next. I didn't know this time when I sat down, I didn't know I was going to sing a song. Those words just came to me. That tune just came to me. And those words just came. And, it doesn't mean that you have to do it that way. You might play a song. In the summertime, I played a CD where someone else was singing. They were singing beautiful, loving things. I got to stretch out because, oh my gosh. So, I set the stage, so to speak. I set the tone, that this was going to be a loving thing, a kind thing, that I was doing. Anyway, so my last step for tonight was I just kept seeing this person like, if you're not a Harry Potter fan, this isn't going to mean anything to you, but there's a scene in one of the later movies of Harry Potter where Harry sees Voldemort and he's like at this bus station. This is like the last movie, I think, the last movie of the series. So Harry's in this bus station and he sees Voldemort, this shriveled up little being, this little creature. And that's kind of how I saw this person. But what I drew on my piece of paper, because what came to me was not, so I drew a mud puddle with a brown plant, like drooped over. I don't want to show you my plant, so because of the things I have written around it that are private. But that's what I drew. I drew this withering plant, basically, that had grown up, but now is like dying. It's dying and it's shriveled. And it's not death that I proclaimed over it. This is the state of this being because of what they've done, because of how they live their life. And maybe, you think, ooh, that's pretty judgy. Well, I knew this person for a long time, so trust and believe and know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I just wrote things that came to me on this point. This last page that I did was about reminding myself, somebody who is lying and cheating and manipulating and trying to control and always, all of these things they've done that hurt me are negative. It's all very negative energy. And that's where their mind dwells continuously. This is not a healthy person. And if you're not healthy, I can attest to this as someone who's gone through shit. and needed to do the work to learn to love myself and heal myself. When you're unhealthy, you're miserable. I mean, you know this, you know, even if you're new to like self-care stuff or whatever, you know from being sick. Have you ever had a cold? You ever had the flu? It makes you miserable, right? Well, it's the same with not dealing with your emotions and not loving yourself, not taking good care of yourself and paying attention, being present and aware to your own life. It weighs on you. The negativity weighs on you. It's okay to feel negative. It's okay to to have those thoughts where you're like, I hate that person, whatever. But the thing is, if you hang on to the stuff, that's the thing. You don't want to hang on to that stuff because it becomes dead weight. If you tie weights around your feet, or if you did that to a bird, if you hung little weights on a bird's feet, if you shackled them to those weights, even if they were just little pebbles, the more you hang on to, the more you would tack on, attached to around their little ankles, they wouldn't be able to fly after a while. And that would be a really sad bird. It might even stop eating. It might just let itself languish and die. And I think there are a lot of people in the world who do that. They give up on life. They give up on themselves. Fight for you. You are worth it. You are worth it. And you're meant for more than misery. Look, life is rough for everybody. And for some people, yeah, it's a hell of a lot more challenging than others. You fight for your life. Because, honey, if you won't do it, you can't expect anybody else to do it. But when you will stand up for you and say, I deserve to be loved most of all by me, I deserve my love and attention, and I'm going to do that for myself. That changes everything. And then, yeah, it changes your perspective. It changes the way you walk into a room. It changes your ability to receive the help you need. It's miraculous. Love is miraculous. And that's why I say, like, sure, sometimes you feel hateful towards people, but you don't want to hang on to it because love is a much better vibe. It brings so much goodness. So I acknowledged my hateful feelings and all the reasons why, and I did not judge myself for it. I was an understanding, listening friend, but I also reminded myself of the true things. Like, that stuff is that person's, that's shit on their shoes. That's stink that they walk around in their life. Their whole life smells like that because that's how they live. It's not how I live. They're not in my life anymore. I don't have to worry about that. I should fly free. My life should be about what I want it to be about, create, I want to create things and have fun and I want to enjoy whatever, wherever I am. I want to make the most of it. Because this is my time right now. It's what I've got. So I made this page and I wrote down things I wanted to remember. The sickly little plant represented that person and reminded me that, because one of the things my wounded self said in this process tonight was they should pay for what they've done. Well, this last page that I wrote reminds me that they are paying for what they've done. Because they live miserably. They choose, they don't get rid of, they don't do anything self-healing for themselves. They don't love themselves. Now, I said this. I want love, joy, and peace to flourish in my life. So I choose love over hate. What he did is not okay, but I forgive him because that's the best he could do. Hello? We all do the best we can do every day. Now, you stop and think about that. It is shocking what some people's best is. And it's really sad. Now, I'm not going to shed any tears for this person. I already did enough of that, okay? But moving on. I forgive him because that's the best he could do, and that is super lame and sad for him. So he is paying. He is paying for what he's done. And in forgiving and letting go, I free me. Well, hell yeah, I should be free. I'm going to fly free. I free myself to fly away from all that and enjoy my life. And you know, it's been said that the best revenge is to live a happy life. Get on with it and live a happy life. Yeah. Because, you know, talking about these negative things, if we hang on to them, not only we can't fly free, it makes us sick. It makes us sick. People get physically sick because we're more than just one thing. I'm not just the thoughts I think or the way I feel. It all affects, you know, you think about how one thought can trigger anxiety, and then those chemicals are released in your body and you feel sick to your stomach. It's all tied together. So that's another reason why physically it's good for us to process the stuff. You have to let yourself feel so that you can deal with stuff and get on with it and heal, you know? I know I'm going to have more of these moments where I have to stop and heal. But this little experience I've had has taught me I would much rather do this in little bites along the way, even though they feel like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. Great. You know, I had other plans for this weekend, but I would rather do that than have the big, funky thing that I had last summer that just felt so heavy. And it took me so long to actually get to the point where I was like, okay, let's do the thing. So the other thing I wanted to do on this paper, because like I said, the thing that showed up was he should, you know, I didn't want to give him credit. That's something that initially triggered all of this. I don't want to give them credit, because I hate them. So I wrote on this paper, I already tried to love this person better, to help them see hope and desire joy and peace and real love. They're so blind, so impoverished in their mind and soul that they couldn't see. And they couldn't choose better than the darkness they were shrouded in. You know, and this is not me. I'm not writing like I was trying to push them to be something they weren't or whatever. That person chose to be with me. You know, it was a mutual choosing, that situation. So, but what I found myself was I'm always trying to lift you up. You're always raining on the parade. Like there can never be anytime I'm happy or talking about a good thing, you got to find some reason to shit on it and make it, you know, got to rain on the parade. So then I was trying to, my reaction was, no, but this and that. And it's exhausting. You know, if you want to be the party pooper, go on and be the party pooper. But I'm not down with that. It's not my gig. So credit where credit is due. That person helped financially, helped me in a time when I needed that. And I was able to raise my kids and spend time with them that I wouldn't have been able to if they hadn't been there for me. Their lovelessness taught me to love myself. Finally. If they had not, that's what happened because of their negligence, because of their lack of love and kindness towards me. I finally was like, I'm going to do something about this. And I learned to love myself. And I came to realize that I'm worthy of love and goodness. Those are major gifts. Time with my kids that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Those are major. Those are like that. Those are the most important things. They, learning to love myself totally turned my life around. I am so much happier than I've ever been. I look around me and I'm like, oh my God, I did this. I created this life for myself and I love it. Like, woo! Yes. The things I've been doing, the self-care that I've been learning to do, step by step, adding more and more, doing affirmations, journaling, just little by little, adding small changes and maintaining, creating new habits and maintaining those. Not perfectly by a long shot, but being consistent to come back around. Because look, we're human, okay? Perfect is not part of the equation. But we can be consistent. We can learn. We can take the crap that's dumped on us, or the crap we even fall into, and we can learn and use it to actually nourish our garden, our soul garden, and grow even more beautifully than we ever thought we could, So this was a long one. Thank you for listening. If you're still with me, I hope that some of the things I have shared will help you figure out your own way of doing healing. You are worthy of your love and kindness. And here's the thing. It's really important that we learn to love and treat ourselves well. Because if we don't, no one else will. We teach others how they are allowed to treat us. We teach them what's acceptable. So you got to give yourself some time to think about that and ask yourself, how do I want to be treated in this world? And then start by treating yourself that way. Don't tell other people, you got to love me like this, and you got to, no. Don't be running your mouth. Put these desires that you have, you put them into action. You start loving yourself that way. You start treating yourself like you matter. That's all. It doesn't mean you matter more. You're not saying I matter more than you, so blah, blah, blah. No. It's just saying I matter too, so I'm going to do this. Okay? And then we'll see about whatever. So anyway, I love you and I wish you well in your journey. Thanks. Bye.